I'm Connie Lingus.
And I'm Thomas Hunt.
And this is the Bad News Network. "10 days after fencer Alan Hadzik secured a spot as an alternate on the U.S. Olympic team, a group of women took their concerns about him straight to the top. The 6 women fencers, including 2 Olympic athletes, wrote to the Olympic Committee that Hadzik should not be allowed to represent the U.S. because he's under investigation for at least 3 accusations of sexual misconduct, and they were reported to the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, the nonprofit agency responsible for protecting athletes from abuse. His presence at the game, they said, was a direct affront to fellow athletes and put them at risk. Of course it frickin' put them at risk. But this was completely ignored, and 2 months later, Hadzik is one of the 24 Olympic fencers in Tokyo, an alternate on the men's epi team, attaining a rarefied spot at the pinnacle of his sport to the dismay of his teammates. Though last month, Safe Sport had suspended Hadzik from the international competition, the 29-year-old from Montclair, New Jersey, fought to get that prohibition lifted through an arbitration process, and that ultimately permitted him to participate in the Summer Games. USA Fencing, the athletic federation in charge of selecting the country's Olympic competitors, created a safety plan to keep him away from women and out of the Olympic Village. He flew in on a separate plane from his teammates. He's staying at a hotel 30 minutes away from the other athletes and won't be allowed to practice alongside women teammates. After he appealed those conditions, the entire roster of Team USA fencers signed a letter demanding that the restrictions stay in place. But to many of his teammates, he shouldn't be representing the country at all. "We're all pretty pissed off that this is even a thing we have to deal with," said an Olympic fencer who filed a complaint against Hadzik, alleging predatory behavior. "He's been protected again and again," the fencer replied. Complaints about Hadzik's alleged behavior were no secret in the close-knit fencing community. Interviews with 30 current and former USA fencers and officials, including 3 women who have formally accused Hadzik of sexual misconduct, as well as a cache of documents showing a pattern of alleged sexual misconduct and violent behavior going back to 2010 when he was a first-year student at Columbia University. Hadzik's ability to temporarily circumvent the suspension and to make his way to the sport's most prominent platform has left many athletics skeptical of the organization's capacity to act decisively on allegations of sexual misconduct. But they had no trouble barring Sherry Kari Richardson for having tested positive for cannabis. If this had been dealt with in the way that it should have been, he should not have had the opportunity to try to make the Olympic team. A spokesperson for the USA Center for Safe Sport, of course, said they couldn't speak on the case, citing the center's commitment to confidentiality.
White Castle, the fast food tiny burger joint that a regular-sized joint with tiny burgers decided to come back in the labor shortage by calling back 550 past applicants from all the way back to 2017. Would I call that a Hail Mary? Maybe. It's definitely a bold strategy, Cotton, but it seems to be working out for them. Well, they didn't comment on how many of those prospects actually turned into hires. The VP of Marketing did say that they were getting back to pre-pandemic efficiency. White Castle isn't the only fast food chain to pull some interesting tactics. McDonald's in Florida was paying candidates $50 to interview. A Taco Bell did a drive-through hiring event, and apparently one unnamed franchise in North Carolina was offering $500 signing bonuses. This makes me think maybe we got our strategy backwards here at Ranger Up. We made our last intern fist fight a pack of wolves. I wonder whatever happened to him.
Hong Kong's mainland replacement police have announced they're starting an investigation into the incident of the booing of the Chinese national anthem. A live broadcast of the Olympics was being held at a shopping mall in Hong Kong. Hong Konger Chung Ka-long won the Olympic men's individual fencing title, the city's first gold medalist in 25 years. According to reports, people started booing when the Chinese national anthem began playing during the ceremony. This, of course, violates the national security law imposed by Beijing, so now the police will investigate and probably just arrest anyone that was there. This is a great sign, however. It shows that despite everything, Hong Kong still stays strong.
After ordering nursing homes to take in COVID-positive patients, essentially signing them to their death, also covering it up from investigation, and then having his top aide admit that they covered it up and lied about it, Governor Cuomo is finally getting fired for starters. You'd think so after there's a lot of people dead because of him and he totally lied about it and the number of deaths, but now instead, the Biden administration has called off the DOJ investigation on him. I don't understand it. I have to assume that this guy has dirt on everyone. Real dirt. Because if this was Trump, there would be a mob outside of the White House. It's unclear whether or not the FBI is still pursuing the investigation, but as of right now, it looks like it's getting swept under the rug, along with the thousands of at-risk elderly who died. Yeah, sure, we wouldn't want to cause a commotion about it.
Scarlett Johansson has been trending recently after the release of her solo Marvel movie, The Black Widow. The headlines changed dramatically, however, after it was reported that Scarlett is now suing Disney. Her lawsuit claims that Disney broke their movie release agreement by streaming Black Widow on Disney Plus at the same time it was released in theaters. Scarlett's legal team stated that this caused her to miss out on potential earnings. Disney responded to this allegation saying that they were baseless and have no merit whatsoever. The lying, cheating, thieving mouse threw another jab out there saying that Scarlett had made plenty of money in the $20 million she was given up front, and she's probably just bitching about its short-lived success. Well, the latter may be slightly exaggerated. In any case, the mouse isn't backing down, and now we'll have to see if Scarlett Johansson's hotness can bring enough heat to make the Disney juggernaut bend the knee.
The nationwide ban on evictions is coming to an end this month. On Saturday, the moratorium on evictions will be lifted, and those angry landlords are coming for everyone. The Biden administration announced this Thursday, while adding in a half-hearted, "we would have liked to have done it" apology. They then blamed it on Supreme Court, who did in fact rule that they couldn't just keep renewing this pledge. Allegedly, Schumer is working on legislation to extend it anyways, but we'll have to see how that pans out. The moratorium has been a godsend for many who became jobless during the pandemic. It has saved many from becoming homeless, and the CDC has argued that it has also prevented the spread of COVID by allowing people to stay at home. According to the US Census Bureau, nearly 3.6 million people may face eviction in the coming months. Part of the problem, though, is that Congress allocated nearly $47 billion in assistance that was supposed to go towards tenants to help them out. So far, only about $3 billion has been distributed by the states and the localities. The Biden administration has said it is urging states to get the money out the door and into the hands of the people who need it. But like, goddamn, that's a lot of money that got allocated for purposes that never saw the light of day. Landlords have been battling the moratorium and courts repeatedly throughout the pandemic. This week, the National Apartment Association filed a federal lawsuit for $26 billion in damages on the account of the moratorium. So I guess we're just throwing that word billion around like a hot potato these days. The suit isn't without merit though. Housing providers have been eating the cost of missed rent payments since February 2020. On the flip side of plenty of apartment complexes that have been trying to jack up their rates during the pandemic, and that they can go f themselves. So the next few months will be interesting for the housing market that has already increased significantly over the past 6 months.
Tornadoes in the Northeast yesterday. And what you would expect to be a weather report from central Kansas, New Jersey and Pennsylvania got hit with some of the most massive storms they've ever had. It included tornadoes. There were 2 tornadoes moving across Trenton, as if Trenton needed any more help looking messed up. The damage was not extensive, but residents were rattled. Many have blamed the growing effects of climate change on this drastic weather. The stuff is getting crazy and fast. Summers used to be sunny and relaxing with the occasional shower or the rare Hurricane Bob. Now there's a lot more natural disaster floating around in the air, and the experts are saying there's no going back. Let's all look on the bright side. It definitely keeps things interesting, and really, how much damage can you do to Trenton, New Jersey?
As with any good news that comes from Congress, it's usually accompanied by a big fat hairy but. First, the good news. After passing the Senate and the House, a bill to evacuate Afghan translators who assisted our military forces in Afghanistan will soon be enacted with $2.1 billion in funding. This is awesome news. Now it's time for the but. The majority of that money, or at least over half of it, will go to replenishing the Capitol Police and bolstering security around the Capitol. Some of it will reimburse National Guard units over time for Capitol Police, new hires, and other expenses, etc., etc. You know how these people work. That etc., by the way, is an allotment for humanitarian aid for the inevitable flood of the fleeing Afghans the administration is expecting to arrive to America. Rough estimates have the number at 500,000. But hey, at least some part of that will go towards fulfilling the promise of relocating translators. We hope.
And finally, in Florida news, an unidentified Florida man decided to go on a shopping spree this week at a local Bath & Body Works in the Doral suburb west of Miami. On Sunday afternoon, Florida man entered the store and began filling up a bag with all types of candles. Then he broke out the bear mace and started spraying everybody in sight. Florida man sprayed about 35 people with the bear mace before sprinting out the door and escaping. His getaway vehicle? A cab. And Florida man still at large. Are you f***ing kidding me, Florida? Just call the cab company. They know where they took him. Anyway, a minor number of people had to be taken to the hospital and a portion of the mall was evacuated due to the excessive macing. Currently, Florida man is still at large after his Bed Bath belligerence, and local deputies are beyond perplexed. I don't know what they're so confused about. A shopping spree at Bed Bath & Body Works just makes sense. Get it? Sense? This would never happen at Yankee Candle. I'm Connie Lingus.
And I'm Thomas Hunt.
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is just as bad as all the other news you're getting, but at least we're telling the truth.
As always, you can use the code BNN at checkout for 25% off of your order at rangerup.com. And also make sure to follow Nick and Matt on their OnlyFans at Nick and Matt, where they do absolutely nothing. I think last time they just ate some potato chips. But hey, follow them, why not?